Wherever you are in the world, there's a symbol that shows you're part of a global network of trusted, highly skilled individuals. With over 750,000 chartered accountants and 1 million students in 190 countries. Research shows that if you display the Chartered Accountants Worldwide Network member logo, business leaders and clients see you as more relevant to helping them internationally. You worked hard for this respect. Display it with pride. Join the global network of chartered accountants. We're stronger together. Wherever you are in the world, there's a symbol that shows you're part of a global network of trusted, highly skilled individuals. With over 750,000 chartered accountants and 1 million students in 190 countries. Research shows that if you display the Chartered Accountants Worldwide Network member logo, business leaders and clients see you as more relevant to helping them internationally. You worked hard for this respect. Display it with pride. Join the global network of chartered accountants. We're stronger together. Wherever you are in the world, there's a symbol that shows you're part of a global network of trusted, highly skilled individuals. With over 750,000 chartered accountants and 1 million students in 190 countries. Research shows that if you display the Chartered Accountants Worldwide Network member logo, business leaders and clients see you as more relevant to helping them internationally. You worked hard for this respect. Display it with pride. Join the global network of chartered accountants. We're stronger together. Wherever you are in the world, there's a symbol that shows you're part of a global network of trusted, highly skilled individuals. With over 750,000 chartered accountants and 1 million students in 190 countries. Research shows that if you display the Chartered Accountants Worldwide Network member logo, business leaders and clients see you as more relevant to helping them internationally. You worked hard for this respect. Display it with pride. Join the global network of chartered accountants. We're stronger together.
afternoon and good evening, everybody, to this next episode of Difference Makers Discuss. Yet again, I am joined by an amazing chartered accountant who is going to talk to us about her global journey, her global adventure. Aster Thackery is a member of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. She is working in London. She is married to an Irishman, and she is representing Italy with the Italian. I will let her give the official name of it, but essentially selling Italy to the global FDI community. Aster, that is some global kind of jigsaw. Talk to us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, fine. So, funnily, in the work that I'm doing at the moment with the Italian government, usually the first thing I say to anyone I meet is, no, I'm not Italian, don't worry, but all my colleagues are Italian. So we'll get to that in a minute because I am the only one that's a foreigner in the office. But I was born and grew up in New Zealand, in a small city in New Zealand. I'm a fourth generation New Zealander. And my mum, though, is Singaporean Chinese, and so I'm clearly mixed. I lived in New Zealand my whole life, but 13 years ago decided to move to London because I work in international business, and that's my interest. And clearly in New Zealand, when you have a population of 5 million and you're on the other side of the world, it's a lot more difficult to do that. Whereas here in London, there's a lot more opportunities. So that's what brought me over. Yes, I am married to an Irishman. So I guess we now have a house and two children. So I guess that means that I'm probably here for the longer term. I remember when I first moved here and I bought a dining table and my dad said, "Oh, are you settling down in the UK?" And I was like, "Dad, not yet, but now for sure." But something to mention, though, that is, of course, very important as well, is that I am the current chair of the UK Regional Council of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand, so CANS is the abbreviation. So that's been a really great opportunity for me to get more involved with Chartered Accountants worldwide and other membership bodies. And just on the Italian front, so yes, as I said, or as you mentioned, I'm working with the Italian government, and that is particularly the Italian Trade Agency, but we are linked to the Italian Embassy. We're very close with them. But yeah, essentially my role is to talk to investors and international businesses about doing business in Italy, investing in Italy, and helping them to do that.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating, and I'm loving the linkage between the dining room table becoming the kind of the sign that you were settling down. So I love it. I love it. So okay, so a chartered accountant or a member of CANS, and you moved up to London, as you said, to kind of pursue your international business. Tell me a little bit about how you came into your current role, because it sounds like one of those things that being a chartered accountant opened doors into something that is not necessarily what people typically think that a chartered accountant might be doing.
Yeah, I think so. I studied law and I studied accounting, and interestingly, I didn't ever have a dream to study accounting. However, I found when I was at uni that I was quite good at it. So I was getting really good grades. And then when I came to London, I realized that nobody here really they don't care about your law degree particularly because you're from New Zealand, but the accounting qualification, my chartered accountancy, that was the one that was opening the doors, that was getting me the interviews. And from then, because it's common for New Zealanders to come over on a flexible sort of 2-year working visa still, if you're young. So I was over on that. And even at that point, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do because I've never chased job titles or kind of linear career progression. But I did know what I didn't want to do in terms of like some of the recruiters were just sending me jobs that were basically doing accounts for law firms. So I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. Anyway, so I was looking out for things. And then I did work briefly in social housing, doing some disputes resolution, which was eye-opening because many of my friends who'd come over to work for some of the big four, they were like, "Why on earth are you doing like London social housing?" Whereas I thought it was fascinating. I saw a different side of London. And after doing that for about a year or so, I thought, okay, right, I need to get my career back to where I want it to be, which is the international business. And I got lucky. I met someone who's actually an Australian, and he was doing work with the British government at the time. And I always joke and I say, I got a fantastic contract. It was just after the UK was coming out of austerity and before Brexit and before COVID. So George Osborne and David Cameron, they were throwing money at trade and investment. And I landed this position as the lead finance specialist for the what was at the time UK Trade and Investment, but is now the British Department for International Trade or Business and Trade. And they were sending me all around the world to speak to international businesses about the business landscape in the UK and why it's attractive and how to access finance here, what sort of tax incentives there are and things like that. So I did that and I really, really, really loved it. And now I know that actually is the world of FDI or foreign direct investment in government speak. But essentially there's two ways of looking at it, right? So you're either government, and so you are trying to attract the best businesses, the best talent, the best investment into your location for economic development and growth, or you're a business and you're looking at how you want to raise revenue and where you're going to grow and how you're going to do that internationally. So I've worked on both sides, both for the government and with private businesses. But yeah, you're right. So I don't have a traditional accounting role, and I mean, in my career, I've done a little bit of management accounting and things like that, but I always realize that I'm not someone that can sort of do the same thing every month. Shouldn't really tell people, but I did one of those Myers-Briggs things and it came back as I got a very low score for completer finisher. So I realized at that point that perhaps traditional management accounting would not be for me. So this kind of role where I am at a much higher level and talking about the finance to people and understanding what they're doing in their bigger picture, that's where I've landed.
That's brilliant. And look, I mean, it does absolutely talk to the whole ability of the accountancy qualification to open doors and to be, as you said, it was fascinating what you said was that people were able to resonate more with your accountancy qualification up in London rather than the law. So I can't but ask the question about the importance or the recognition of cultural diversity. So, you mentioned your mum is from Singapore. You grew up in New Zealand. You've obviously, you're doing business and working in London. You're doing business with first the UK government and now the Italian government. Is different cultures important to you? Do they fascinate you? Has it always been something that really has kind of, I don't know, attracted you to work or to life?
I think so. As I said, I grew up in a smaller city in New Zealand, and I'm mixed, right? And actually, when I was growing up, there weren't so many mixed children, whereas now there are. I mean, my own children are mixed. And I definitely had a bit of an identity. When I was a teenager, I definitely had a lot of questions about identity and because in New Zealand, particularly, people would say, oh, you're not, go home to China, not that everybody is racist, but you'd get that, right? So occasionally, so you'd have these questions of, well, I grew up here, where am I from? Who am I? But as an adult that's now working in an international city like London, what I've realized is I actually now have an advantage in terms of cultural awareness, understanding, and being able to see things from different perspectives. And I also do quite often go out of my way to try and learn more. So, for example, being from New Zealand, we have, of course, the Māori community, the Pacifica community. And as one of my things that I've been saying as chair of Chartered Accountants Australia New Zealand this year is that we need to be more aware of our Māori and Pacifica membership, because at the moment we're not really catering to them. So I think, well, as far as I can tell. So that's why I just think having this perhaps understanding of both sides all sides. Cultural things come up all the time. Like, I think I'm generally okay at reading the room or understanding cultural nuances. I will tell you, definitely not. You only are as good as what you've practiced or what you've seen, right? And when I started working with the Italian government, I realized how hierarchical the Italians are compared to New Zealanders. We're so, and Irish, right? We're so, I guess, more direct. I would happily speak to the CEO or the boss or the whoever. I just walk in and talk to them. But in Italy, there's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more reading between the lines. There's a lot more respect to people who are of a senior position to you. So I had to get used to that. But I mean, you learn, and I learned, and I think now I'm doing fairly well. I seem to be getting on really well with my colleagues. I've been there for 2.5 years now with the Italian Trade Agency. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're underselling yourself. You certainly are doing very well, and I know from talking to you before that you know you've put a lot of work into that. I mean, you mentioned to me the last time I chatted to you about a book you read, the Culture Map, and I actually read it since you mentioned it. It is amazing, but it really speaks to that. I don't know, the ability to recognize different cultures and respect them, and then interact in the best way for everybody.
Yes, I definitely recommend that book if you are working internationally, or at least something similar to it. It is called The Culture Map, and it's a very easy read, and it does talk about how, first of all, you should recognize that there are other cultures other than your own, because if you don't, you'll only ever view the world through your own culture. And then secondly, it goes through lots of different ways that you can compare cultures. I mean, I talk to people about this book all the time because I think it's fascinating. But yeah, the reason that I got that book is because I had, in the early days of working with the Italian embassy and the Italian government, I had a few small hiccups internally, and I thought, okay, I'm clearly getting something wrong here, so let's go and read a book and figure out what to do.
Okay, brilliant. And it's very funny. Sorry, I think it is. I think we're all probably thinking of other instances where we've maybe misinterpreted what people say. The Irish are quite sarcastic, and I remember one of the things. And sorry, I'm going to just go on a little bit of tangent, but a lot of Filipinos would work for us, in certainly in the firm, and I remember one senior manager, said to a new member of our team who was Filipino, "Okay, thanks a million. I'll see you later." And that was at about 7 o'clock in the evening. And see you later in Ireland is kind of a, yeah, bye. That poor trainee sat there until about 11 o'clock that night because they thought that the manager was coming back as a see you later. So it's really important to actually understand the difference in culture. And to that point, and your awareness of culture, of the global community, you also are very aware of the, I guess, more local community and the importance of that, Aster. Isn't that right? Talk to me a little bit about the amazing initiative you set up in your local community.
Yeah, so it's funny, community, because we spoke about community when we chatted the other day, right? And
Mm.
I guess when I reflect on what I've been up to over the last few years, community is a huge theme. And I would say that I wear three hats. So three hats plus also I'm a mum. But so three hats being the work that I'm doing with the Italian government at the moment. So I'm working to attract investment into Italy. And that in itself is a bit community based, because essentially you're trying to connect the Italian business community in London with the investment community and the business community, right? So how do you build those relationships? The second community is, of course, the Chartered Accountants, Australia, New Zealand. We have 4,200 members in the UK. So as chair, I'm a volunteer, but we luckily have a brilliant paid team that do all the actual work. But as chair, I often am thinking, how do we do more to bring our community together? So like what kind of events can we do? Things like that. And then the third, which is what you are referring to, is I live in Greenwich in London. And when I moved here 5 years ago during COVID, I didn't know anybody. And I was pregnant with my second baby. And I just did what I think many pregnant women or like mothers do, which is to try to connect with other pregnant women and mothers. So I had this coffee meetup that I started, pretty normal. But the thing is that this coffee meetup just grew. It just didn't stop growing. So it's just grown and grown and grown and grown and grown. And it got to the point where we now have about 2,000 active parents in our local community who are part of this group. So we're not affiliated to a religion or a school or any kind of any group. We are just a community of parents. And it got to the point where COVID had lifted, and so I thought, well, we should do something. Maybe I should organize a party or an event. So in 2024, I thought I'll organize a village fair, because it felt to me like where I'd grown up in New Zealand, there were often community events. And in London, yes, there are community events, but they're huge, right? So I thought, well, Greenwich is essentially a village. I mean, we're in zone 2, we're central, but we're essentially a village. So let's put on a village fair and invite all the families and the children. So we had this big event, and it was free, and people came, and everything was like just for families, little children. And everybody said, "Oh, that was great. You should do it again." And it's the same this year. "Oh, this is great. You should do it again." So it's morphed now. This community is morphed. But just to tell you a really, I guess, most recent story is that yesterday was International Women's Day,
Yes.
and yeah, and so I thought, well, actually, yes, we'll do a fair again, sure, and we can do other events too. But for the first time, I decided to organize a family morning tea for International Women's Day. So a lot of we sold out, actually. We didn't, and I say sold out as in we only had capacity in the venue for a certain number and we had too many. So we had about 80 parents and children come yesterday morning, and I did some call outs to some of the amazing women that run businesses in our community, and they donated like spot prizes. And we had a children's entertainer come, and she did a bit of, girls rule the world, and it was just this really fun community event. But yeah, essentially, I mean, we could talk for hours about how motherhood and parenthood and the family unit and the cost of childcare. I mean, that's a whole wormhole, right? But drilling it right down to what is it that I guess I felt like, what is the very least that I can do in my position? And that is just connect people. So a lot of the people that come to all of the meetups and events and things that we organize or I organize, they're just parents that are a bit similar to us. They probably don't have family here in London, and they just want to connect with other parents and bring their child to something that they know it's going to be fine. And yeah, so that community is now, I actually incorporated it, which sounds really formal, but the reason I did that is because I wanted it to be its own thing and not linked to me and my bank account, right? So it's incorporated as a social enterprise, a non-profit social enterprise. And once I did that, I then realized that we've now got the foundation in place, which enables us to empower others in the community to do things as well. So one of the mums, she's now been running for a year, Mums in Business networking, free workshops for women in the community. I've got another one who said that she'd like to get some events experience. So I've been supporting her behind the scenes and she could run events. And then I've got another one who she wanted to run a charity event, but she is just, she can organize it and hire a hall, but I'm helping her out with all the ticketing and all of that sort of base infrastructure. So really create a group or a community or whatever, but people have always said, "Oh, where are you going to take it next? What are you going to do next?" And I'm like, well, actually, we're community led. So what do you guys want? And what are you guys prepared to help with? Because something that, sorry, I'm going on, stop me if I'm going on a
No,
tangent.
it's brilliant. It's great.
I think it's so important. Like, this has been floating around on socials recently, but people are saying, "Oh, we don't have a village anymore. I don't have a village," especially in the world of parenting. "Oh, we don't have a village." But then also what's been going around, which I fully, when I read this the first time, it's resonated with me so hard, is people say that they want to have a village, but they don't want to be a villager, right? People don't want to put in the effort to be a villager, because being part of a village means that you also need to contribute and take part. So I am pushing back to people a lot now to say, yeah, like, we can do all that stuff. Let's do it together and see what comes out.
Oh, it's amazing, Aster, and well done to you. And I mean, I think what I have taken from that is that the bravery. And I mean, you started something which didn't necessarily have an end vision, but it's just grown, and you really have let it grow. I think it also demonstrates the importance of human interaction and the building of networks and the building of human relationships, which I think in this day and age of AI and technology and all that, I don't think can be underestimated. So well done to you. It's phenomenal. And there's a lot that people can learn from that. And in the same vibe or theme of community, I mean, you mentioned a couple of times that you're chair of the CANS. Is it the UK members, the members based in the UK, you're chair of that grouping?
Yeah. So Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. So we combined a few years ago, Australia and New Zealand. So we're more powerful together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've got 140,000 members around the world, and 4,200 in the UK.
That's huge.
So I'm the Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. Our CEO Ainsley Van Onselen, she's actually the chair of Chartered Accountants Worldwide at the
That's
moment.
right.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
so
No,
very proud of that.
yeah, no, it's great, and I mean, I think CANS are really leading the charge in kind of how to really ensure that the profession is a truly global profession, and how you look after members throughout the globe. So well done to you. How do you find the time, Aster, to do all you do? Because I'm assuming there's an awful lot of travel involved in the work you do as well, is there?
Everybody asks me when they find out I work for the Italian embassy or the government, they're like, oh, you must go to Italy a lot. And I say, unfortunately not, because my job is to speak to international companies. Okay. So I've been more times to Leeds and like other places like that than Italy, but once a year. But in terms of the time, I think that I'm not a perfectionist. I used to be, but not anymore. I'm pretty good at just knowing like what, when done, is good enough. And I see this around me all the time, particularly with women, especially with the local women who are starting up businesses here. They'll be so focused on making sure their Instagram looks beautiful or that their logo looks beautiful. Whereas I'm like, what's the end goal and how do we get there? And what's the minimum that I need to do to get to that point? Because then, I don't know, otherwise there's no way I'd be able to do what I do. And also I will just put a shout out to my husband, because I also think that when you have children, having a co-parent, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't know how you do it all. I couldn't do that. And I'm like, well, I do have a co-parent. He's there and he's doing the work and he's contributing. And I think I would wish that everybody had this with their partners, but it's not always the way. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, isn't it? And that's lovely. But isn't it just the power of teamwork, really, and the acknowledgement and understanding that we are better together, and you get much more done as a part of a team. I love that bit about kind of leaving the perfectionist thing at the table and maybe getting something 80% done rather than 100%, but done late or not done at all. So and that's a really really good takeaway. So Aster, what's next in your journey? I mean, what do you hope to do, or do you tend to look forward, or do you tend to react to things as they happen, or is there a plan? You don't necessarily need to share the plan, but is there a plan?
I always think of, like, it shows my age, but I always think of Monica from Friends and how she always had everything planned out. So I'm not like that. But I would say that I went through a lot of my 20s being very much like live in the moment and just experience everything in the moment and just go for it, which was great. It's harder to do that now when you are in a family unit, right? You can't just go with the moment. You actually need to think about what it is, not just what you want, but what your partner wants, what your children are doing, and what's going to work out best for all of you. And I will be honest, I'm finding that a massive shift, because I was such a go with the moment independent person. Mm-hmm. I do plan though. I shouldn't say plan. I self-reflect a lot. Mm-hmm. And actually this is something that sometimes when people ask, I think, what is your advice, or like, what is your tips? I don't know if this is a tip, but this is something that's worked for me really well. Like, I have always journaled. I journaled since I was 9 years old every day, not much, just a few thoughts. And then if I was ever going through anything more complicated, I would sort of just sit down and get out a pen and just write it all out and get all these thoughts out and work through things that I was finding difficult to try to figure out what the actual priorities are and then what I can do about those. And I am a New Year's resolution person, so I do set New Year's resolutions. And two of mine this year, so I'll share those with you, probably two of the most important ones. No, three, because one of them is to spend quality time with my children, so that's a good one. Mm-hmm. But the other two of them, one is to continue to take steps that do things that are aligned with my strengths and my values. So I think I'm doing fairly well, but I'd like to continue on that path. And the other thing is to start to look. I've got all these skills, and I met someone last year, and she was wonderful, and she did one of these psychometric tests on me, and she said, "Did you know that you've got all of the attributes of an entrepreneur?" And I was like, "Oh." She said, "Does that surprise you?" I said, "Well, yes and no. Like, no when you say it, but yes, because I hadn't really thought about starting up a business or whatever. Anyway, I think that the third thing is what I want to do is explore some of that. So of course, I love the work that I do, the international work. I love the community stuff and I love bringing people together. But equally, for me, it's not just doing something for fun, although that is good. It's also, what is the actual impact that you're having? So I'm starting to look for more impactful or ways that I can be of more impact, positive impact to the world. I think that's a bit cheesy, but that's the
No.
direction of travel.
That's great. That's great. And gosh, I wouldn't have been at all surprised to hear that you were, had the skill set of an entrepreneur. Sure, look what you've done with the Greenwich parent group. It's phenomenal. So they're not small goals, Aster. They're not small goals. But it sounds like you when you set your mind to something, you likely will get there. And look, I wish you all the best in that. Obviously, being a chartered accountant is something you're proud of. Do you think the skill set that you've learned along the way has helped with all of these, I guess, ability to multitask?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? I was thinking about confidence, and I think having the CA as part of my skill set and as part of my professional identity has given me a lot of confidence throughout my career. So, for example, in those early days, when I was working with the British government, and as I said, I'd be walking into some conference rooms with some pretty senior business leaders, and a lot of people, particularly women, would say, "Oh, do you have imposter syndrome or whatever?" And I'd say, "Well, no," because
Mm.
because first of all, the world was not built for me. So if I feel imposter syndrome, that's normal. But second of all, I think if I'm there for a reason, right? And I think this is typical, but I'd walk in and people would say, "Oh, are you here to write the notes, or are you the HR person or the marketing person?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm the finance specialist, and I'm a CA. I've got this." So that, yeah, it definitely helps with the confidence and got me to where I am.
Isn't that brilliant? Well done, and keep smashing it, because you have a lovely positive and can-do attitude, which I think is just so critically important in the current world. Aster, one, you've given so many good takeaways there and good advice. But if you were talking to a young accountant student in New Zealand, picture yourself back there, what would you say to that accountancy student at this moment in time?
Well, so I think I touched on it before. I think self-reflection is probably where I would start, because actually I think I can't really give, say, tips to a person or whatever, because it really starts with them and self-reflection on who you are and what your values are and where you see yourself going. And I don't think you necessarily need to know exactly where you are wanting to end up, but at least having a direction of travel gets you going, right? But then I think the second thing is that I've always found really useful and interesting is I always encourage people to take or learn things that aren't necessarily directly applicable to what they think they're doing. So say if you are studying your CA, your accounting, that's great. Learn all the business and finance skills that you need. But for example, me, every year I make sure I do a course that's completely unrelated to finance and business. And the reason I do this is because one, it helps my brain think in a different way. And two, I think you never know when those skills are going to be applicable laterally. And just to say that you could do something as small as a course. Like, for example, one year I decided just to do a pottery course. I don't know. And then another year I did, actually last year, I did the Advisory Board Centre's Certified Advisory Board Chair course.
Wow.
which taught me how a company should best use advisory boards and things like that. But so you might think, oh, that's not directly applicable to, say, my accounting. It's advisory boards. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, all of these things cross over and they all link. So I guess what I'm saying is, yes, do your finance because you think that's your career path, but also don't drop off those other interests out of who you are, and all the skills that you learn, and all of the ways that your brain learns to think, they are all building on top of each other, right? They're not pushing one to the side. It's not one or the other. It's all compounding to make you better and you who you actually are.
That is brilliant advice. Really, really great advice. And I think what you're kind of saying is your technical maybe know-how and skill set will get you so far, but after that, it's maybe who you are, who you know, and what you represent. So yeah, they all matrix up into a wider picture.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to probably just share one example which I always think about when I was doing my CA back in New Zealand. One of my friends who was doing it with me, we were sort of saying, "Oh, this is really hard, all these finance exams." But her big passion was dancing, and people said, "Oh, you're going to drop the dancing," and she's like, "No, I'm going to keep the dancing." And people were a bit like, "Why? What's the point? You're going to be a CA, you're going to go and work for a Big Four," which she did for a number of years. But the last time I caught up with her, she was running her own dance business. So of course she then had the skills to go and do what she wanted to do. And I just thought that to me is a really great example of, yeah, you don't just drop off what your other interests are, because eventually they can come together.
No. Oh my goodness, what a lovely way to finish up. That is just amazing advice. And Aster, thank you so much for sharing your time, your honesty, your insights with us. And look, I want to wish you all the best in the future. I have no doubt that whatever you do, whatever you turn your hand to will be a success. So thank you so much for chatting to us today. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Not at all. And to the listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. We will have, we're coming towards the end of the series, can you believe, of Difference Makers Discuss. But I look forward to seeing you at the next outing. And until then, stay well. Goodbye.